What's up, y'all? Here's another one of my matches where I attempted a reverse triangle. A lot of adjustments to be made here, um, including but not limited to finishing a triangle like this, knowing when to switch to a different type of triangle, understanding how to adjust that kind of this reverse triangle, and possibly which way to move in order to turn the triangle from like a bottom attack into a sweep where you're on top and you're more able to finish. So I just started the match in the middle. I think here I'm just in side control, and uh, I am about to recover just using frames, um, sort of like a little hip out away and then getting my knee in front. And I would say this is not necessarily the best thing to do in competition. So like right after I recovered, I um, had the makings of what could have been something like a regular front triangle here. Um, but then I think it was because my opponent started throwing my legs over, almost as if it was like a double underpass, that I threw my right leg over to his neck here. Um, and so both my knees, my left knee, you can see it kind of looks like this if it was, if you could see like an x-ray of like what my left knee looks like. So I kind of have um, like what happens if somebody breaks your closed guard on your knees, but then you decide to twist and go to one hip. Um, and so I have my right foot on his knee, and my left foot is sort of underneath his armpit, with my knee right in front of his chest. So it's not the best position because it doesn't take much for your opponent to sort of turn that um, into a leg drag, um, or basically just try and get both your legs to one side, and then he could possibly just get back into side control and pass my guard. But it's also an interesting position since my feet are flexed, and so like these hooks make it difficult for him to back out, and it kind of glues me to my opponent. And here it's like um, you can sort of trick your opponent into thinking that they have an opportunity to pass when really you're just trying to set up a triangle. So here I slip that foot, and I fail the first time, and then the second time. So right here, it's probably a little more clear that my right leg is here and my left leg is below here. And so you can see that in order for a triangle to happen, you'll always need uh, your opponent's head and one of their arms. Um, and so this leg, the one on the bottom, which is hooking, can extend and complete the triangle with the right leg that's already around the neck. So that's what happens. So I come up, and so right here it's a little more clear that it's a reverse triangle, and so I grab the tricep, but it's still not exactly it's not very tight. So we can watch that again. So immediately I'm looking to adjust that triangle. So here it's not very tight. Um, I have one of his carotid arteries covered, But then you see here, like he has his entire shoulder inside my triangle. And so that just represents a ton of breathing room um, for my opponent. Um, Another detail here is that the pit of my knee, it's really like my thigh or my hamstring that's kind of pushing into one side of his neck. I think it would have been much tighter if it was um, the pit of my knee was lower. So the angle was definitely off. And so here I hip up, um, maybe a little bit out of discomfort because my opponent basically had my knee on my neck. And so I wanted to push that off and get me into a better position. So here, um, keeping this triangle locked was already pretty difficult. You can see that like it's definitely not tight enough. The pit of my knee is not locked over my ankle, and so I'm kind of like hanging on my calf. I am, however, faced into my opponent, and so like there are Kimura options on my opponent's arm right here, which I contemplated. I was looking for that Kimura at one point, but I don't think it was like he was gripping pretty hard. So I continue digging for Kimura options just to get like a grip. And in doing so, I'm also trying to push my hips into my opponent, and that helps me to just like close up any of the space that is open right now. Um, Problem still is that my opponent has a shoulder in the triangle, and that represents breathing room, and so the finish is not very powerful right now. Um, During this whole time, my coaches were yelling at me to basically just post on my hands and walk backwards because right now there's really nothing um, that would prevent him from just toppling over. So, like, he's looking to fight my hands, I could just back up, topple him over, and then work the triangle from top. Um, so, that was an option that I did not execute. And so here I actually unlock the triangle. And doing this poses a risk that my opponent could just posture and break out. And that's why I wanted the Kimura grip before I did that. That basically keeps his hand stuck where it is, which means it's hard for him to posture. So my opponent could have just like lifted his head and just tried to rip out. That could have been one option now that I had unlocked my legs, but he kept his head down, which helped me because I could relock the triangle. Um, I can push my hips really deep and relock the triangle. At this point, right here, um, I should have changed the lock from a reverse triangle into the same lock. Basically, I would um, reverse the lock on my legs, and I think that's essentially what you would find in a triangle from side control. So, like if you think about the spider web position, um, instead of having your leg over the opponent's head, you could have the leg that's supposed to be over your opponent's head in the armpit, and then you have a Kimura grip, and then the leg over the body will slip under the opponent to lock up the triangle. It's a little hard to explain, but imagine if my opponent was just on the ground. Um, this leg right here would be under the armpit, and then this right leg here would slip behind my opponent, and you could lock the triangle the other way. So um, basically, I had to switch my legs for a tighter triangle, but like right here, it wasn't the right lock. Um, here would have been an opportune time um, to achieve the right lock, and then pull this arm forward. But alas, I did not do that. I eventually lost this reverse triangle. I think partly it was also just me not being able to, I guess, figure it out in the heat of competition, just also being inverted. Um, I think like the reverse triangle was something that I have pulled off in the training room before, but I think the adjustments, it was difficult to see the adjustments. And so that's like some of the feeling that you're going to have to get in the training room. So definitely like playing around with understanding like like how to adjust a triangle and what angle you should adjust it, what needs to happen for you to still have their posture broken down so you can readjust your legs, and then just like knowing when to try a different leg lock configuration for the triangle in order to finish it. Um, I think of all the options that I had in this match, the best would have been to like lock a fairly tight triangle, not tight enough to strangle, but figuring out how to sweep. So gravity is not fighting against me. So sweep, bring him over. If I lose the triangle, I still end up on top. If I don't lose the triangle, well, it's much easier to figure it out when you're the one on top. So just a couple of lessons learned in this match as well. Um, yep, so take a look at, this is the triangle that I think Braulio did in one of the 80cc's. So if you want to see that executed well, check out Braulio Estima's competition footage from one of the earlier 80cc's. Um, and then just like knowing the reverse triangle and also the side triangle from Spiderweb. Like if you want, study those two triangles and know how they interchange for more details. All right, hope this helps. See y'all.